everyone, this is Hannah with Rocket Miner giving you today's COVID-19 update. Happy May 1st. Today in Wyoming we have 420 confirmed cases of COVID-19 with 146 probable cases and 387 recovered cases. The Sweetwater County COVID-19 Emergency Operations Center recently did a survey of people in Sweetwater County to see kind of what people's response and reaction was to COVID-19 and where everybody was at in terms of how they were thinking about this disease and our responses to it. And they just shared their results from the survey. They said that the survey was designed to gauge public opinion on a number of topics related to the impacts of COVID-19 in Sweetwater County. They said, while not a truly scientific survey, as participation was voluntary, no demographic information was collected, and it does not necessarily comprise a random or representative sample of county residents, 6,133 people participated in the survey, and the EOC intends to use the results to inform them on addressing the specific needs of our community as we move towards softening restrictions and reopening our local economy. So that was an interesting survey. As I said, it was over 6,000 people who took place in that, and it was interesting to see the different responses and results. You can look at the full results of the survey on rocketminer.com. We've shared some of the highlights as well as the full PDF from the EOC that gives all of the details on the responses. Some of the interesting ones that I thought I'd point out. 46% of respondents reported that they perceive COVID-19 as a real threat, and 31% believe that the worst is likely yet to come. But 40% of those surveyed believe that the threat has been blown out of proportion, and 28% believe it's not likely to be a major problem here in Sweetwater County. But 66% of all of the participants did express anxiety over the uncertainty that this situation has created. Almost 87% of those who were surveyed are either very or somewhat concerned about the impact of COVID-19 on our local economy, and 73% are either very or somewhat concerned about their personal finances due to the pandemic. And although 55% of county residents say that they or members of their immediate family have not been laid off or lost their jobs, 64% say that they or members of their immediate families have seen their work hours or pay cut during the shutdown. So that's an interesting survey. It asks a lot of different questions about how people are feeling, whether they were concerned or not about the disease itself, about the impacts on the economy. So definitely interesting to look over those results and see how people in Sweetwater County feel about what's going on. Today, Governor Mark Gordon did another live stream press conference, and you can always watch those at the PBS Wyoming Facebook or YouTube pages. We also have been sharing those on our Facebook page as well. This was his last one for this week, and then next week he'll go back to a more limited basis. This week he did one almost every day, just to give more updates and more details as we see this transition shift in the public health orders and the restrictions. So today he again talked through some of the plans we have going forward and how we're going to implement those. One of the biggest things he was talking about today was the financial plans that we have, our different concerns and plans for our economy as we move forward and what we're doing with that. He discussed a few different things about loans and grants for small businesses and options that they have. Also some unemployment options, particularly for people who are self-employed and the options that they have with that now. But he spent most of the time during the press conference talking about the CARES Act funds that Wyoming has received and how we're going to be using those. He said that we'll be using a phased approach as we spend the money from the CARES Act that Wyoming was allocated. As a state, we were given $1.25 billion to use, so he's working through how and when we'll use that money in the best and most helpful way. He said that we want to use the money quickly, and we want to be able to use it for the people who are hurting the most right now so that we can give some relief and help to them. And he doesn't want us to wait too long to do that, but he wants us to pace ourselves so that we can make the best and most valuable use of the money going forward. He said there are, again, concerns about the timeline of how it's used because we don't want to have to pay any penalties or fines or pay things back down the road. The funds have to be spent within this year. But again, he has a plan to try to spread it out so that we can use it wisely. So the governor's plan that he explained and walked through a little bit involves 3 different phases for using this money. And the bulk of it is going to be at the beginning, again, to help the people who are hurting right now and to keep our businesses and our workforce going right now as we're struggling. He said we don't want to hold off on using the money and then not have any more businesses or workforce to help down the road. So he knows we want to use most of it right now to help people who are hurting and to get our economy going again and to provide that kind of relief, and then keep spreading the money out and using it over time as well. So the first phase, all the money will be going to emergency response, health preparedness, business support, unemployment, evictions, and food banks. Those are the areas that he highlighted as the major concerns where we want the money to be going towards. And that first phase will use $575 million. The second phase, there will be more money available for the reimbursement of COVID-related expenses for specific counties and towns and cities and special districts, and that'll be at the beginning of July. So there will just be more money then to give to specific places to go towards the needs that they have, again falling into the categories that were in the first phase. And that second phase is $300 million. And then phase 3, which will be later in the summer, is just the continuation of these programs, of seeing what else comes up that we need to address, any other plans that the legislature has been putting in, just kind of using that money for whatever needs are most important at that time as we see what happens with the first 2 phases. And so that third phase is $375 million. During the press conference, State Health Officer Dr. Alexia Harris also spoke to give kind of an update on what's happening with COVID, where we're at in responding as a state. She again reminded everybody that we don't want to have to go backwards because we went forwards too quickly, that we are still in this pandemic and we need to keep watching, keep being careful and seeing how the disease progresses so that we know how we continue to respond to it. She did update that right now there are an estimated 12 COVID-19 hospitalizations in Wyoming. And when she spoke, she also shared about how there can be variance within individual counties throughout Wyoming with the health orders as we move forward. And counties can give specific plans that they have based on their health officials and what they've been working through as a county. They can submit plans for variances in the health orders, and then Dr. Harris and others look through and approve those. She said lots have already been submitted, and she's been working through them and approving some of them. For example, in Teton County, and they've had a total of 65 confirmed cases and 31 probable cases so far, so almost up to 100 total cases there. They've been more restrictive so far in their health orders, and they want to continue to be more restrictive. So she's worked through a plan with them to approve that. In Park County, on the other hand, which has only had 1 positive confirmed case, she's making plans to give a little more freedom and flexibility. So they had a specific plan to allow for outdoor dining that she's approved. And she said she looks through these carefully, she approves them for the counties that they're for because they make sense based on what that county's been going through. So she'll keep reviewing these as different counties submit them. She may or may not approve them. She doesn't have to approve all of them, but she takes them into consideration and is trying to work with the counties to make the best plans for them individually. She also again just reminded everyone not to make any assumptions or set definite expectations of what we think will happen or when it will happen. She said we need to keep seeing how we progress, and as we see how things are going, then we can keep making plans to take steps forward. She said that the safe path ahead involves thoughtful and measured actions and all of us working together. Of course, today is the first day of May, which is exciting. It's especially exciting for Wyoming since we are seeing this transition between the health orders we were under and now the new restrictions on some of those orders and new things that are coming into place. I know that a lot of barbershops and gyms are opening, either opened today or are opening within the next few days. So we are starting to take those steps forward, and that's an exciting thing. We need to keep being careful with how we do it. We need to take all the precautions that are necessary so that we can continue to move forward. Today, also being the 1st of May, is sometimes known as May Day, which is always throughout history in so many cultures and places. It's been a day for celebrating the coming of spring and the beginning of summer. And I know I've definitely been loving having warmer weather recently. I hope that people are taking advantage of that to be able to go out into the desert, go on hikes, go enjoy the beautiful scenery that we have around us. And yeah, just definitely excited about summer coming. Today, May Day, is also in many countries all over the world used as a day to observe Labor Day or International Workers' Day. So the USA officially celebrates Labor Day in September, but a lot of countries celebrate it today. And even in the USA, a lot of people observe International Workers' Day just as a day to thank the laborers and the workers out there and all the hard work that they do. And today especially, and throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, we just want to express our thanks and gratitude to the workers who have helped keep us going. I know especially in Wyoming, since we didn't have a shelter-in-place order, and so many places have had to keep going and keep working. I think of all our mines and the oil fields and people that have